Hare Krishna, welcome to today's reading of Srimad Bhagavatam. So let's begin by reciting Mahima Stotra of Sri Sanatana Goswami. Sarva Shastrabdi Piyusha, Sarva Vidaika Satpala, Sarva Siddhanta Ratnadya, Sarva Lokaika Drikprada, Sarva Bhagavata Prana, Srimad Bhagavata Prabhu, Kalidvantoditaditya, Shri Krishna Parivartita, Paksharayate, Sarvanda Sarva Sevyaya, Shri Krishna Namos, Madheka Bandha Mat Guru Mat Mahadana, Manishtaraka Mat Bhagya, Madananda Namostute, Asadu Sadutadayin, Atini Chochataraka, Anamuncha Kadachimam, Premahrit Kantayoram. Translation. O nectar from the ocean of all scriptures, singular fruit of all the Vedas, rich mine of the precious gems of all conclusive truths, you are the only giver of sight to all of the worlds. O life air of all the Supreme Lord's devotees, O Master Srimad Bhagavatam, you are the sun risen in darkness of Kali, you are the exact image of Sri Krishna. I bow down to you, who are supremely blissful to read. Your every syllable pours down a flood of prema. You can always be served by everyone. You are Shri Krishna himself, my only friend, my constant companion, my spiritual master, my great wealth, my savior, my good fortune, my source of ecstasy. I bow down to you. O bestower of saintliness to the unsaintly, O exalter of the most fallen, please never leave me. Always appear in my heart and my voice with pure love. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Haribol, Hare Krishna, welcome to today's reading. Here in Dublin Temple of Panchatattva, we're continuing from verse 17 in chapter 9, answers by citing the Lord's version, Canto 2. Translation. The Lord was seated on his throne and was surrounded by different energies like the 4, the 6, and the 5, and the 6 natural opulences, along with other insignificant energies of the temporary character. But he was the factual Supreme Lord, enjoying his own abode. Purport. The Lord is naturally endowed with his 6 opulences. Specifically, he is the richest, he is the most powerful, he is the most famous, he is the most beautiful, he is the greatest in knowledge, and he is the greatest renouncer as well. And for his material creative energies, he is served by 4, namely the principles of Prakriti, Purusha, Mahatattva, and Ego. He is also served by the 16, namely the 5 elements, earth, water, air, fire, and sky, the 5 perceptive sense organs, the eye, ear, nose, tongue, and skin, and the 5 working sense organs, the hand, leg, stomach, evacuation, outlet, and the genitals, and the mind. The 5 includes the sense objects, namely form, taste, smell, sound, and touch. All these 25 items serve the Lord in the material creation, and all of them are personally present to serve the Lord. The insignificant opulences, numbering 8, the Ashtasiddhis, attained by yogis for temporary or overlap, are also under his control, but with all set, and therefore he is the Supreme Lord. The living being, by severe penance and bodily exercises, can temporarily attain some wonderful power, but that does not make him the Supreme Lord. The Supreme Lord, by his own potency, is unlimitedly more powerful. He is unlimitedly more learned than any jnani. He is unlimitedly richer than any wealthy person. He is unlimitedly more beautiful than any beautiful living being, and he is unlimitedly more than any philanthropist. He is above all. No one is equal to or greater than him. Nor can anyone reach his level of perfection in any of the above powers by any amount of penance or yogic demonstrations. The yogis are dependent on his mercy. Out of his immensely charitable disposition, some temporary power to the yogis, because of the yogis hankering after them. But to his unalloyed devotees, who do not want anything from the Lord save and accept his transcendental service, the Lord is so pleased that he gives himself in exchange for unalloyed service. Verse 18. Brahma, thus seeing the personality of Godhead in his fullness, was overwhelmed with joy within his heart, and thus in transcendental love and ecstasy, his eyes filled with tears of love. He bowed down before the Lord, perfection for the living being, Parahamsa. Purport. In the beginning of the Srimad Bhagavatam, it is said that this great literature is meant for the Parahamsas. Paramo Nirmat Saram Satam, i.e., the Srimad Bhagavatam is meant for persons completely free from in the malicious life begins from the top, namely against the Supreme Personality of Godhead. The Personality of Godhead is an established fact in all the scriptures, and in the Bhagavad Gita, the personal feature of the Supreme Lord is especially mentioned, so much so that the last portion of the scripture has emphatically stressed that one should surrender under the Personality of Godhead to be saved from the miseries of life. Unfortunately, persons with impious background do not believe in the Personality of Godhead, and everyone wants to become God himself without qualification. This malicious nature in the conditioned soul continues even up to the stage when a person wants to be one with the Lord, and thus even the greatest of the empiric philosophers, on becoming one with the Supreme Lord, cannot become a Paramahamsa because the malicious mind is there. Therefore, the Paramahamsa state can be attained only by those who are fixed in the practice of Bhakti Yoga. This Bhakti Yoga begins if a person has the firm conviction that simply discharging devotional service to in full central love can elevate him to the highest perfection of life. Brahmaji believed in this art of Bhakti. He believed in the instruction of the Lord to execute tapa, and he discharged the function with great penance, thus achieved the success of seeing the Vaikuntha Lokas and the Lord also by personal experience. No one can reach the abode of the Supreme Lord by any mechanical means of the mind or machine, but one can reach the abode of the Vaikuntha Lokas simply by following the process of Bhakti, only through the Bhakti Yoga process. Lord Brahmaji was actually sitting his lotus seat, and from there, by executing the process of Bhakti Yoga in great seriousness, he could see the Vaikuntha Lokas with all variegatedness, as well as the Lord in person and his associates. Following in the footsteps of Lord Brahma, any person, even up to this day, can attain the same perfection, following the path of the Paramahamsa as recommended herein. Lord Chaitanya also proved a method of self-realization for man in this age. One should first, with all conviction, believe in the personality of Godhead Shri Krishna, and without making efforts to realize him in speculative philosophy, one should prefer to hear about him from the Srimad Bhagavad Gita, and later from the text of the Srimad Bhagavatam. One should hear such discourses from a person Bhagavatam and not from the profession or from the karmi jnani. That is the secret of learning the science. One does not need to be in the renounced order of life. He can remain in his present condition of life, but he must search out the association of a bona fide devotee of the Lord and hear from him the transcendental message of the Lord with faith and conviction. That is the path of the Paramahamsa recommended herein. Amongst various holy names of the Lord, he is also called Ajita, or one who can never be conquered by anyone else. Yet he can be conquered by the Paramahamsa path, as practically realized and shown by the great spiritual master, Lord Brahma. Lord Brahma was personally recommended Paramahamsa Pantaha in his own words as follows: Jnane prasam udapasyat namanta eva jivantis mukaritam bhavadita vartam sthane stita shrutigatam tanuva manovi ye prayasho jita jitopyasita trilokyam. Lord Brahma said, O my Lord Krishna, a devotee who abandons the path of the empiric philosophical speculation aimed at merging in the existence of the Supreme and engages himself in hearing your glories and activities from a bona fide sadhu or saint, and who lives an honest life in the occupational engagement in his social life, can conquer your sympathy and mercy even though you are ajita or unconquerable. Bhagavatam 10:14-3. That is the path of the Paramahamsas, which was personally followed by Lord Brahma and later recommended by him for attaining perfect success in life. 19. And seeing Brahma present before him, the Lord accepted him as worthy to create living beings, to be controlled as he desired, and thus being much satisfied with him, the Lord shook hands with Brahma and slightly smiling addressed him thus. Purport. The creation of the material world is not blind or accidental. The living entities who are ever conditioned or nitya baddha are thus given a chance for liberation under the guidance of his own representative like Brahman. The Lord instructs Brahma in Vedic in order to diffuse this knowledge to the conditioned souls. The souls are forgetful souls in their relationship with the Lord, and thus a period of creation and the process of dissemination of Vedic knowledge are necessary activities of the Lord. Lord has great responsibility in hearing the conditioned soul, and therefore he is very dear to the Lord. Brahma also does his duty very not only by generating the living entities, but also by his party for reclaiming the fallen souls. The party is called the Brahma Sampradaya, and any member of this party to date is naturally engaged in reclaiming the fallen souls back to God. The Lord is very much to get back his parts and parts, as stated in the Bhagavad Gita. No one is more dear than the one who takes the task of returning the fallen souls back to Godhead. There are many renegades from Brahma Sampradaya whose only business is to make more of the Lord and thus entangle them more and more in material existence. Such persons are never dear to the Lord, and the Lord sends them deeper into the darkest region of matter, so that envious demons may not be able to know the Supreme Lord. Anyone, however, preaching the mission of the Lord in the line of the Brahma Sampradaya is always dear to the Lord, and the Lord, being satisfied, such a preacher of the Uttara Bhakti cult shakes hands with its satisfaction. Sri Bhagavan Uvacha 20. The beautiful personality of Godhead addressed Lord Brahma. O Brahma, impregnated the Vedas, very much pleased with your long accumulated penance, with a desire for creation. Hardly am I pleased with the pseudo-mystics. Purport. There are two kinds of penance, one for sense gratification and the other for self-realization. There are many pseudo-mystics who undergo severe penances for their own satisfaction, and there are others who undergo severe penances for the satisfaction of the senses of the Lord. For example, the penances undertaken to discover nuclear weapons will never satisfy the Lord, because such a penance is never satisfactory. By nature's own way, everyone has to meet death, and if such a process of death is accelerated by anyone's penances, there is no satisfaction for the Lord. The Lord wants every one of his parts and parcels to attain eternal life and bliss by coming home to Godhead, and the whole material creation is meant for that objective. Brahma underwent severe penances for that purpose, namely, to regulate the process of creation, so that the Lord might be satisfied. Therefore, the Lord was very much pleased with him, and for this Brahma was impregnated with Vedic knowledge. The ultimate purpose of Vedic knowledge is to know the Lord and not to misuse the knowledge for any other purposes. Those who do not utilize Vedic knowledge for that purpose are known as Kutta Yoga, or pseudo-transcendentalists who spot their lives with ulterior motives. Kutta. 21. Translation. I wish you good luck, Bhadramte. I wish you good luck, O Brahma. You may ask from me, the giver of all benediction, all that you may desire. You may know that the ultimate benediction, as the result of all penances, is to see me by realization. Purport. The ultimate realization of the Supreme Truth is knowing and seeing face to face the personality of Godhead. Realization of the impersonal Brahman and localized Paramatma, features of the personality of God, ultimate realization. When one realizes the Supreme Lord, one doesn't struggle hard to perform such penances. The next stage of life is to discharge devotional service to the Lord just to satisfy Him. In words, one who has realized and seen the Supreme Lord has attained all perfection, because everything is included in that highest perfectional stage. The impersonalist and the pseudo-mystics, however, cannot reach this state. 22. The highest perfectional ingenuity is the perception of my abodes, and this has been possible because of your submissive attitude in the performance of severe penance according to order. Purport. The highest perfectional stage of life is to know the Lord by actual perception, by the grace of the Lord. This can be attained by everyone who is willing to discharge the act of devotion to the Lord as enjoined in the revealed scriptures that are standard and accepted by the bona fide acharyas, spiritual masters. Bhagavad Gita is the approved Vedic literature accepted by all the great acharyas such as Shankara, Ramanuja, Madhva, Chaitanya, Vishwanatha, Baladev, Siddhanta Saraswati, and many others. In that Bhagavad Gita, the personality of Godhead, Sri Krishna, asks that one always be mindful of Him, always be His devotee, always worship Him, and bow down before the Lord. And by doing so, one is sure to go back home by Godhead without any doubt. In other places, also there that one give up all other engagements and fully surrender unto the Lord without hesitation. And the Lord will give such a devotee all protection. These are the secrets of attaining the highest perfection stage. Lord Brahma exactly followed these principles without any superiority complex, and thus he attained the highest perfectional stage of experiencing the abode of the Lord and the Lord Himself with all His paraphernalia. Impersonal realization of the effulgence of the Lord's body is not the highest perfectional stage, nor is the stage of Atma realization. The word Manishita is significant. Everyone is falsely actually proud of his so-called learning. The Lord says that the highest perfectional stage of learning is to know Him and His abode, devoid of all illusion. 23. O sinless Brahma, you may know from me that the penance when you were perplexed in your duty. Such penance is my heart and soul, and therefore penance and I are non-different. You see this? Penance and I are non-different. Atmaham tapaso. Purport. The penance of which one can see the personality of Godhead face to face is to be understood as devotional service to the Lord and nothing else, because only by discharging devotional service in transcendental love can one approach the Lord. Such penance is the internal potency of the Lord and is non-different from Him. Such acts of internal potency are exhibited by non-attachment for material enjoyment. The living entities are encaged in the conditions of material bondage because of their propensity for overlordship. But by engagement in the devotional service of the Lord, one becomes detached from this enjoying spirit. The devotees automatically become detached from worldly enjoyment, and this detachment is the result of perfect knowledge. Therefore, the penance of devotional service includes knowledge and detachment, and that is the manifestation of the transcendental potency. Okay, one cannot enjoy material illusory prosperity if he desires to return home back to Godhead. One who has no information of the transcendental bliss in the association of the Lord foolishly desires to enjoy this temporarily material happiness. In the Chaitanya Charitamrita it is said that if someone sincerely wants to see the Lord and at the same time wants to enjoy this material world, he is considered to be a fool only. One who wants to remain here in the material world for material enjoyment has no business entering into the eternal kingdom of God. The Lord favors such a foolish devotee by snatching all that he may possess in the material world. If such a foolish devotee of the Lord tries to recoup his position, then the merciful Lord again snatches away all that he may have possessed. By such repeated failures in material prosperity, he becomes very unpopular with his family members and friends. In the material world, the family members and friends honor persons who are very successful in accumulating wealth by any means. The foolish devotee of the Lord is thus put into forcible penance by the grace of the Lord, and at the end the devotee becomes perfectly happy, being engaged in the service of the Lord. Therefore, penance in devotional service to the Lord, either by voluntary submission or by being forced by the Lord, is necessarily for attaining perfection. Necessary for attaining perfection. And thus, such penance is the internal potency of the Lord. Oh, wow. Okay, one cannot, however, be engaged in the penance of devotional service without being completely free from all sins. As stated in the Bhagavad Gita, only a person who is completely free from all reactions of sins can engage himself in the worship of the Lord. Brahmaji was sinless, and therefore he faithfully discharged the advice of the Lord, tapa, 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 tapa. And the Lord, being satisfied with him, awarded him the desired result. Therefore, only love and penance combined can please the Lord, and thus one is able to attain his complete mercy. He directs the sinless, and the sinless devotee attains the highest perfection of life. Only love and penance combined. We hear more about penance. Okay. 24. I create this cosmos by such penance. I maintain it by the same energy, and I withdraw it all by the same energy. Therefore, the potential power is penance only. Tapasa Vishvam potency. Purport. In executing penance, one must be determined to return home back to Godhead and must decide to undergo all types of tribulations for that end. Even for material prosperity, name and fame, one has to undergo severe types of penance. Otherwise, no one can become an important figure in this material world. Why, then, are there severe types of penance for the perfection of devotional service? An easygoing life and attainment of perfection in transcendental realization cannot go together. The Lord is more clever than any living entity. Therefore, he wants to see how painstaking the devotee is in devotional service. The order is received from the Lord, either directly or through the bona fide spiritual master. And to execute that order, however painstaking, is the severe type of penance. One who follows the principle rigidly is sure to achieve success in attaining the Lord's mercy. Text 25. Lord Brahma said, O Personality of Godhead, you are situated in every living entity's heart as the Supreme Director, and therefore you are aware of all endeavors by your superior intelligence, without any hindrance whatsoever. Purport. The Bhagavad Gita confirms that the Lord is situated in everyone's heart as the witness, and as such he is the Supreme Director of sanction. The Director is not the enjoyer of the fruits of action, for without the Lord's sanction no one can enjoy. For example, in a prohibited area, a habituated drunkard puts forward his application to the director of drinking, and the director, considering his case, sanctions only a certain amount of liquor for drinking. Similarly, the whole material world is full of many drunkards, in the sense that each and every one of the living entities has something in his mind to enjoy, and everyone desires the fulfillment of his desires very strongly. The Almighty Lord, being very kind to the living entity, as the father is kind to the son, fulfills the living entity's desire for his childish satisfaction. With such desires in mind, the living entity does not actually enjoy, but he serves the bodily whims unnecessarily, without profit. The drunkard does not derive any profit out of drinking, but because he has become a servant of the drinking habit and does and does not wish to get out of it, the merciful Lord gives him all facilities to fulfill such desires. The impersonalists recommend that one should become desireless, and others recommend banishing desires altogether. That is impossible. No one can banish desires altogether because desiring is the living symptom. Without having desires, a living entity would be dead, which he is not. Therefore, living conditions and desire go together. Perfection of desires may be achieved when one desires to serve the Lord, and the Lord also desires that every living entity banish all personal desires and cooperate with his desires. That is the last instruction of the Bhagavad Gita. Brahmaji agreed to this proposal, and therefore he is given the responsible post of creating generations in the vacant universe. Oneness with the Lord therefore consists of dovetailing one's desires with the desires of the Supreme Lord. That makes for the perfection of all desires. The Lord, as the Supersoul in the heart of every living being, knows what is in the mind of each living entity, and no one can do anything without the knowledge of the Lord within. By his superior intelligence, the Lord gives everyone the chance to fulfill his desires to the fullest extent, and the resultant reaction is also awarded by the Lord. So I have to disappoint you who wanted to read the whole hour. We have only time today for half of today's portion, and we will continue tomorrow from verse 26 on, 6:30 for full hour tomorrow, I promise. Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Hare Krishna.